The Road by Cormac McCarthy, published in 2006, follows a father and son walking through a post-apocalyptic wasteland where cannibalism is common and civilization has completely collapsed. They push a shopping cart containing their few possessions down empty highways, avoiding roving gangs of survivors who hunt humans for food. The father is slowly dying from a lung disease, coughing up blood while trying to protect his son. Throughout their journey, the father repeatedly tells the boy they are carrying the fire, meaning they're still good people in a world gone evil. The boy asks his father what will happen when he dies. Near the end, the father's condition worsens. He can barely walk. They reach a beach where he finally collapses, knowing death is imminent. The father tells his son to keep going south, to find the good guys, and to keep carrying the fire. After the father dies, the boy sits with the body for 3 days, talking to his dead father and refusing to leave. A stranger approaches and tells the boy he's been watching them. The man claims to have a family and says the boy can come with them. The boy asks if the man is carrying the fire too. The man says yes. The boy goes with him, but McCarthy never confirms whether this stranger is actually good or if the boy just walked into the hands of cannibals. The ending suggests the boy might have just traded one form of death for another. We Need to Talk About Kevin by Lionel Shriver, published in 2003, is told through letters from Eva to her husband Franklin about their son Kevin, who committed a mass shooting at his high school. The entire story is Eva's attempt to understand how their child became a killer. From birth, Kevin showed disturbing behavior. He refused to be toilet trained until age 6, deliberately soiled himself, and seemed to take pleasure in making Eva miserable. As a toddler, he threw his food and screamed for hours. Eva admits she never bonded with Kevin and sometimes felt hatred toward him. Kevin seemed to sense this and deliberately made her life hell. When Kevin was 6, Eva lost her temper and threw him against a wall, breaking his arm. Instead of crying or telling anyone, Kevin smiled. He had finally gotten the reaction he wanted. Throughout his childhood, Kevin tortured his younger sister Celia, blinded her in one eye, and psychologically manipulated Franklin into believing Eva was the problem parent. The mass shooting happens when Kevin is 15. He kills 9 people at his school using a bicycle lock, crossbow, and other weapons. The ending reveals that 3 days before the shooting, Kevin murdered Franklin and Celia at home. Eva had been writing letters to a dead husband for 2 years, talking to no one. She visits Kevin in prison, where he finally admits he doesn't know why he did it. Eva realizes she's been clinging to the hope that there was a reason, something that made sense. Kevin's confession that it was meaningless destroys her last attempt to understand. She decides to take Kevin back home when he's released. Not out of love, but because they're the only family each other has left. The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, published in 1985, takes place in the Republic of Gilead, a totalitarian society where fertile women called handmaids are forced to bear children for wealthy couples. The narrator, Offred, lives with the commander and his wife, Serena Joy. Every month, Offred participates in a ceremony where the commander attempts to impregnate her while she lies between Serena Joy's legs. Offred begins secretly meeting with the commander for games of Scrabble and conversations, which are forbidden. She also starts a sexual relationship with Nick, the household's chauffeur. Throughout the story, Offred remembers her life before Gilead, when she had a husband named Luke and a daughter. She doesn't know if they're alive or dead. The government of Gilead separated families and sent people to different locations or executed them. Near the end, Offred discovers she might be pregnant, but doesn't know if the father is the commander or Nick. Serena Joy finds out about Offred's secret meetings with the commander and threatens to have her sent to the colonies, a place where unwomen clean up toxic waste until they die. Nick tells Offred that members of the resistance are coming to rescue her. Men arrive in a van claiming to be from the resistance. Offred must decide whether to trust them or stay. Nick encourages her to go. As Offred steps into the van, she doesn't know if she's being rescued or arrested. The story ends with her entering the van, unsure if she's walking toward freedom or execution. Atwood provides no resolution about Offred's fate, her baby, or whether she ever finds her family. The Giver by Lois Lowry, published in 1993, depicts a society where all pain, emotion, and color have been eliminated through strict control and daily drug injections. Jonas lives in this community where jobs are assigned, families are created artificially, and no one experiences real feelings. When Jonas turns 12, He's selected to become the receiver of memory, the person who holds all the memories of the world before their society existed. The current receiver, now called the giver, transfers memories to Jonas through touch. Jonas experiences color for the first time, then pain, war, starvation, and love. He learns that his society maintains peace by killing anyone who doesn't conform. When babies cry too much or elderly people reach a certain age, they're released, which Jonas discovers means lethal injection. Jonas learns that his father, a caretaker, regularly kills babies as part of his job. Jonas also discovers that the baby his family is temporarily caring for, Gabriel, is scheduled for release because he cries at night. Jonas and the giver plan an escape. If Jonas leaves the community and crosses the boundary, all the memories he carries will return to the people, forcing them to feel again. Jonas steals Gabriel and flees on his father's bicycle. He stops taking the emotion-suppressing pills and begins to feel everything. As he travels, Jonas runs out of food and Gabriel grows weak. Jonas begins to starve and freeze in the wilderness. In the final scene, Jonas thinks he hears music and sees lights ahead. He sleds down a hill toward what he believes is a house with a family celebrating. However, Lowry deliberately wrote the ending to be ambiguous. Jonas might be reaching safety and freedom, or he might be dying of hypothermia and hallucinating his final moments. The music could be real or could be his brain shutting down as he freezes to death. Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, published in 2005, follows Kathy, Ruth, and Tommy, who grow up together at Hailsham, a boarding school in England. The students are told they're special, but they don't learn why until they're teenagers. They discover they're clones, created specifically to provide organs for their original. Their entire purpose is to grow up healthy, then donate their organs until they die. The process is called completing. Students typically survive 3 or 4 donations before completing. After leaving Hailsham, the clones become carers who look after donors, then eventually become donors themselves. Kathy works as a carer for years, helping her former classmates through their donations. Ruth becomes a donor and completes after her 3rd donation. Tommy also becomes a donor. Before he completes, Kathy and Tommy investigate a rumor that clones who are truly in love can defer their donations for a few years. They track down their former teacher, Miss Emily, who explains that the rumor is false. She reveals that Hailsham was actually a progressive institution that tried to prove clones had souls by encouraging them to create art and poetry. However, society didn't care. The program was shut down because people preferred not to think about where their medical miracles came from. Miss Emily tells them that all clones face the same fate regardless of their feelings or humanity. Tommy undergoes his 4th donation and completes. Kathy continues working as a carer, knowing that soon she'll receive her first donation notice. The story ends with Kathy driving alone, remembering her friends, and waiting for her turn to begin donating. She accepts her fate completely, never trying to escape or rebel. Ishiguro reveals that even when people know they're being killed systematically, they often accept it rather than fight. The Lottery, by Shirley Jackson, published in 1948, takes place in a small American town on June 27 during the annual lottery tradition. The story begins as villagers gather in the town square for what appears to be a pleasant community event. Children collect stones and put them in piles. Adults chat about everyday concerns like crops and weather. The lottery is conducted by Mr. Summers, who brings out a black wooden box filled with paper slips. Every family in the town must participate. The head of each household draws a slip of paper from the box. Most slips are blank, but one contains a black dot. Bill Hutchinson draws the marked paper, meaning his family has been selected. Now each member of the Hutchinson family must draw from the box again. This includes Bill, his wife Tessie, and their 3 children. Tessie protests that the process wasn't fair, that Bill didn't have enough time to select his paper properly. The other villagers ignore her complaints. During the second drawing, Tessie draws the slip with the black dot. Mr. Summers instructs everyone to finish quickly. The villagers, including Tessie's own family members, pick up the stones that the children gathered earlier. Tessie backs away, screaming that the lottery isn't fair. The townspeople surround her and begin throwing stones. Even little children participate in the stoning. Mrs. Delacroix, who had been chatting friendly with Tessie moments earlier, selects a stone so large she can barely lift it. The story ends with Tessie being stoned to death by her neighbors, friends, and family members. Jackson reveals that this community maintains its tradition of human sacrifice through a random selection process, and everyone participates willingly because it's always been done this way. Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes, published in 1966, follows Charlie Gordon, a mentally disabled man who works as a janitor and desperately wants to become smarter. Charlie volunteers for an experimental surgery that has successfully increased the intelligence of a laboratory mouse named Algernon. The story is told through Charlie's progress reports, which initially contain basic spelling and grammar errors. After the surgery, Charlie's intelligence increases rapidly. His writing becomes more sophisticated. He learns multiple languages, understands complex scientific theories, and realizes that his co-workers at the bakery weren't being friendly to him before the surgery. They were mocking him. Charlie becomes a genius, surpassing even the scientists who performed his operation. He falls in love with his former teacher, Alice Kinnigan, and experiences emotions and desires he never had before. However, Charlie notices that Algernon begins showing signs of aggression and memory loss. The mouse's behavior becomes erratic. Charlie studies Algernon's condition and discovers a fatal flaw in the experimental procedure. The intelligence increase is temporary. Algernon dies after his intelligence deteriorates completely. Charlie realizes the same thing will happen to him. As his intelligence begins to decline, Charlie experiences the horror of losing everything he gained. His memories fade. His ability to read disappears. His understanding of love and relationships slips away. He becomes aware that he's forgetting things but can't stop the process. In his final progress report, Charlie's writing returns to its original simple, error-filled style. He asks that someone put flowers on Algernon's grave. Charlie returns to his job at the bakery, but his coworkers now treat him differently because they remember when he was a genius. Charlie decides to move away, where no one knows his story. The ending reveals that Charlie experienced the fullness of human intelligence and love, only to have it stripped away while remaining conscious of what he was losing. Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, published in 2012, alternates between the perspectives of Nick and Amy Dunn, a married couple whose relationship is falling apart. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Amy disappears from their home in Missouri. Evidence suggests she was abducted or murdered. Nick becomes the prime suspect because he's having an affair and shows inappropriate behavior during press conferences. The first half of the story presents Nick as potentially guilty through Amy's diary entries, which describe an increasingly abusive marriage. However, the middle of the book reveals that Amy is alive and has orchestrated her own disappearance to frame Nick for her murder. Amy's diary entries were fabricated. She planned every detail for over a year, including faking a pregnancy and collecting Nick's semen to plant evidence. Amy explains that she discovered Nick's affair and decided to punish him by destroying his life, then killing herself so he would be executed for her murder. Amy hides in a cabin, disguises her appearance, and watches the media coverage of her disappearance. However, her plan begins falling apart when other people at the cabin steal her money. Amy contacts her wealthy ex-boyfriend Desi, claiming Nick abused her and she needs help. She stays at Desi's house for weeks while planning her next move. When Amy realizes that public opinion is shifting in Nick's favor, she murders Desi by slitting his throat during sex, then claims he kidnapped and raped her. Amy returns home as a hero. Nick knows she killed Desi and framed him, but he can't prove it. Amy announces she's pregnant with Nick's child, using the semen she collected. She tells Nick that if he tries to leave her or expose her, she'll destroy his life and raise their child to hate him. Nick realizes he's trapped in marriage with a psychopath who has legally bound him to her through the child. The story ends with Nick staying in the marriage, knowing that Amy will likely kill him eventually, but unable to escape without losing access to his child and facing potential murder charges himself. Which of these darkest books with the creepiest endings surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into forbidden knowledge that they don't want you to discover.